you're just sort of brown.
Yeah, I want to be ginger. I've never been ginger. And you?
Gingers I hate. Gingers are beautiful. They are kissed by fire. Just like you.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Redheads! You gotta love them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gingercast for a New Ginger, the one series of podcasts that are by gingers, for gingers, and the one podcast in the entirety of the web that has 0 souls. Hello, I am Nick Phoenix, host of this very channel, and joining me is my usual co-host of Moses, Eagle Rider.
Hello, and I have to make a slight correction. We have plenty of souls. That's what our freckles are, the souls we stole.
Yes. They keep asking me to release them, and I tell them no. And joining us is a very special guest, the bot smasher himself, co-host of Gothic Therapy. We have the Master of the Total Defense Shogun, aka Master of the TDS. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Seems people are kind of mad at me today, but what else is new?
Well, that's what happens when you kick the hornet's nest, sir. So
It's a day ending in Y, and trolls be mad bitches. Sorry.
Yeah. TDS, just like your profile picture, you yourself are a ginger, correct?
Yes. A little less, like when I was younger, I was a lot more orange. Now I'm more coppery, but it's kind of stayed the same. So.
Okay. And so usually when we have new people, we like to ask them kind of the standard question of, what is your experience as a ginger? What was it like growing up a redhead? What kind of experiences? What struggles? And did you have any benefits? And have you found your soul yet?
So that's a good question. I grew up, like Orthodox Jewish. So one of the things to keep in mind is there's actually a special term for people who are Orthodox Jewish who are redheads. They're called gingies. And okay. I used to get called that all the time. I hated it because half the time I didn't know what it meant, and it was just annoying because people could use it as a way of just not using my actual name. But I guess I was definitely singled out a little more because of my red hair, especially when I was younger and, still cute and whatever. And older women or whatever would take a very interest in me, not in a weird way, mind you, but Jewish communities is close knit. There's a lot of people who will go and hang out together. A lot of the moms will take the kids to the playground and stuff like that together. So a lot of that, we get a lot of comments because of my red hair, because it wasn't as common. But as far as being treated differently, I don't think that anybody's ever really specifically treated me differently because I'm a ginger. It's possible that I'm not remembering, but it definitely did get me more looks. It definitely did get people to, reference me in different ways and even give them excuses not to learn my name. But
they just call you Red.
No, they would call me Gingy. He's a Gingy. Because that's the term for a redhead in that circle. So that was the thing that I got called the most. And so I had to kind of get used to being called a Gingy all the time, because that was literally what everybody called me just because of my red hair. And they kind of used it as an excuse not to learn my name, as I said, which was a little annoying, but it wasn't anything too concerning, I guess.
I guess to them, Gingy was your name.
It was that, or is easier than learning my name. I don't know. Again,
kind of reeks lazy either way.
Yeah. I know growing up, a lot of people called me Red, because my red hair and whatnot. And so I kind of had a similar experience. People would just rather just call me Red than learn my name. So.
Yeah, as I said, but there was nothing really particularly that I can think of where I was treated differently, in a negative way. as I said, I know there's the whole gingers have no soul things and stuff like that. You know, that's a thing that's always been a thing. But like, if directed or singled out for that because of the community I was in, I would say not really. But as I said, the particularly the calling me Gingy and stuff like that, that was usually a thing. So
Okay. So how would you say it's affected your adult life? So we've kind of covered the growing up portion, but your adult life, especially when you kind of started to go out into like the wider world, what kind of stuff did you face? Like, was there anything in particular that stands out for you?
not that I can think of. Again, it was. I think a lot of people. I think I stood out. I was the kind of kid when I was growing up. I was the kind of kid who was just like a good boy. Just did what did what he was told. It was only later that I kind of started, you know, changing that. But as I said, it's not. I'm sure, I'm positive at some point in the past that there's been someone who's said something or done something specifically because of me being ginger. But I don't remember any of it. So I would say if it's anything, you know, that, you know, as I said, would actually been like significant, if I don't remember anything, it kind of means that there's probably wasn't. But I'm sure there was a comment here or there. But in my adult life, again, it's most people know me by now around the area, at least for the most part. So not that I can think of, it hasn't really affected anything, at least as far as I can be, as far as I'm aware of it, as well as like public things. Like, I don't think, I'm sure there might be comments made in private or whatever, but nothing that I'm, you know, privy to in that sense.
All right. Rose, what's your reaction to this?
I mean, I think it depends so heavily on the communities where you grew up and stuff. For me, it was, well, I mean, the urban Indian community was very bigoted about it, but when it comes to spending time on the res or being out in the rural native communities, it was more desired, almost to a point of very creepy. Look, a lot of people will call it a racial stereotype, whatever. It's true. Native guys love their white chicks and they love their redheads and blondes. Absolutely true. If this wasn't true, I wouldn't exist. If you knew my parents, dad liked white women, mom liked brown boys. That's how I exist. I mean, so it was more the weird kind of creepy level of flirt and come on and stuff like that, even when I was kind of too young for it. The abusive, soulless gingers are all violent stuff like that came later. Yeah. But growing up, it was the creepy come-ons, and those honestly got a lot worse than the other abuse to me.
And that's definitely a great segue into kind of like the water conversation. But first, we need to pay the bills. Why do YouTubers say that? I don't know why, but anyway. So this video is sponsored by It's Me, Barry, and my Kickstarter Lost Kingdom, which is currently on Kickstarter. It's almost to $900. You guys already got me halfway funded. That's really really freaking awesome. You guys rock. Links in the description. And now back to your regular scheduled program. I wanted to make it brief, but anyway.
So support him. I mean,
yes, please. But we only got TDS for a limited amount of time, so I just wanted to kind of get that in there.
It's your stream. It's your stream. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I only got you for an hour, so I got to make it count. But no. Before the sponsor block, I think Rose was definitely getting us into kind of the main topic of conversation of who has it worse as far as being a ginger, the male ginger or the female ginger. And I think it's a rather nuanced topic. We were kind of chatting about it a little bit before the stream started, and it was actually really interesting to hear Rose's point of view on this, because I thought it was kind of a fairly even divide, and she kind of clued me in on some stuff. So Rose, can you kind of like give your thoughts on it from your perspective?
Well, I mean, the whole I can attest to I've actually known people who were literally the beaten redheaded stepchild and stuff like that, and that generally was male more often. But I also know a lot of girls who had things go the other way, where the stepfather was actually sexually abusive to him as the redheaded kid and other stuff. So it's like, it's really complicated for me. It got, while there's the positive flirty stuff that's fun, there was a lot more of the creepy and the downright sexually abusive stuff that comes out of it than there was the flirty, unfortunately.
Yeah. See, that's why it was really kind of important to have like a female perspective on here, because like me as a guy, from my perspective, like the way I see it, it's like women have like some positive aspects of being a redhead, while men have like none of them, because like a lot of male redheads are like, ooh, icky, gross. They tend to get a lot of the negative stereotypes. The way that I see it, it's like, look at like Google image search female redheads and then male redheads. Female redheads, it's all like beautiful pictures, all that. Males, it's like the derpiest, like you don't really see a lot of
You're nerdy derpicorns. You're nerdy derpicorns in those pictures. Let's be honest.
How dare you call out TDS? Like
I was calling out you like that. Let's be honest. I don't. TDS is just like, I'm just gonna let them insult each other a second, see what happens.
I mean, I could just turn off the camera and disappear, so you'll just see you'll be talking to an error message. Watch.
Oh crap! We lost him.
I'm out.
I'm out. Right. No, it really actually is. As much as I know how bad it got for some of the female stuff, and I think that's the unfortunate with anything about sexuality with women, is the fine line between good and creepy is trampled a lot. But
yeah,
men really are. They're portrayed as dweeby, nerdy, derpy, the unwanted redheaded stepchild, and all that stuff. And there is an amount of abuse to male redheads. It's kind of disturbing, actually.
Yeah. TDS, growing up, did you know any other redheads, male or female, and like how were they treated as opposed to you?
Again, it because of the fact that I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish community, it didn't really happen that way. Again, women are treated differently regardless in kind of Orthodox Jewish culture, and I'm not necessarily like, there are certain ways that they're treated which I'm I understand and like appreciate, and there's some ways where I have different opinions, but that's not what this stream is about. But because of that, there really wasn't anything that I can think of that was like, oh, this person is treated differently. I will point out that I think that younger girls with red hair tended to be commented on a lot more than me in particular, because I have like a couple cousins who have red hair too, and when they were younger, they were kind of paid attention to more. But again, I can't think of anything. As I kind of became aware of kind of the world outside the bubble that I grew up in, I realized that they do get treated differently. But if the one thing I will bring up, I think this is the only thing that I can bring up that I actually have a frame of reference for. A lot of times people will automatically assume that gingers will get very angry with them, and because gingers have the ginger temper kind of thing. And I want to say that that's like not true or a stereotype, but I kind of haven't met a ginger that and including myself with this.
Guilty. I think all three of I think all three of us are awkwardly.
You started talking about that, and I'm just sitting here going, I can't argue with that one. I can't either. As a kid, I got in so much trouble for fighting. I got kicked out of a private school for kicking the shit out of an entire volleyball team. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to you describe the temperamental redheads, and I'm just sitting here shrinking into my chair going, he's calling me out. He's calling me out.
I swear when I'm driving, I utter like the "you mother effer" like once every few minutes.
I mean, I do that, but I have an excuse now, officially. Just so that those in the audience who is quiet today, but I'm sure they're understand when I say I have an excuse for it now. I do. I have been officially diagnosed with Tourette's, so I have an excuse to be a vulgar bitch. I mean, No, I felt so called out during that whole one. I was literally shrinking in my chair as he described.
Oh God, TDS.
Well, it's true. It's true. I mean, I'll be fair. I have worked very hard a long time in my life to not get angry.
Yeah.
I have a lot more control over it than I perhaps did when I was younger, and that's kind of, I think, par for the course for anybody. But a lot of people will throw around the ginger anger, and I notice it is directed towards women a little bit more.
Yeah, we
especially like
considered crazy bitches. I mean,
yeah, like for example, before bipolar was really common, women with bipolar, like in like the 80s or the 70s. Oh, that chick is crazy when she just had like bipolar or something.
I mean, women are crazy, but that's a whole other topic. I mean,
she said it, not me.
Bitches be crazy.
Be crazy. All right. TDS, any comment
I'm
on
so
that?
sorry, TDS. I'm so sorry.
I feel bad because I don't really have a lot to contribute aside, because again, you have to understand that I'm sure I would have experienced a lot more of the stuff that you guys have if I had grown up in a different community, but because of the Orthodox Jewish community is kind of close knit, it didn't really get to that point. I was bullied, definitely a thing, whether it was because of my red hair or because I just kind of was different from other people. It's kind of hard to say. Probably a combination of both. But again, when it comes, I guess one thing I could bring up when it comes to my anger, I guess one thing to bring up, which is funny, is I'm not the kind of person who gets angry, like will yell at people. I have in the past, but most of the time I'll just go silent. And when that happens,
that's scarier.
I had one
silent.
I had one teacher at one point who literally got to basically he did something I didn't like, and I was young and I didn't like it, and I got annoyed at him, and he was like laughing about it, kind of like, oh, but I was ignoring him. He was like, oh, you'll get over it in like a day. 3 years later, and I hadn't even, I completely pretended he never existed for 3 years. And he was like so adamant that it was going to be like, just a blip, and then you'll be back to talking with me. And he was like, oh, I guess that wasn't
that's just stubborn and pettiness. Like that has nothing to do with redhead. That's just
stubborn and petty is redheaded. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I will censor one of the words in this, but I made a joke with this a long time ago because my sister and I both have shades of red in our hair as native chicks.
Okay.
She came out a lot darker in skin, but she came out with a very strawberry blonde red hair.
Oh, like me.
I came out with a very blackish red. And very pale skin. And we made jokes about this. And I've watched for a long time because people would call her a redhead, and some of them would deny I was because it's too dark. That's not real redhead. You just have red tones. It's like, no, it's still color red. Yeah. But so I came up with this joke while after watching her like, Tempers. And I
you
came
have
up
a seat on the Ginger Council, but you're not the Rika Master.
It's the balance between a blonde and a redhead. And I decided a long time ago, the difference between a blonde and a redhead is that a redhead is simply a blonde who hasn't had the fire screwed out of them yet.
But what about filthy half-breeds like me?
You've had half of your fire tamed. You need more sex. I mean, you need to
get God! Oh, we lost TDS again.
I'm sorry, TDS. I'm sorry.
You scared him away. Hey, it's another part of the Ginger Council. It's Patty. Hey, that's fine, man. We'll be going for a little while. Feel free to join us later.
Please bear in mind, I have been very sick this week, so I am pickier than normal. So if you hear that little kid-like voice saying horrible things, that's not intentional.
And if anybody asks, I was never here when that started happening.
Were.
Nope,
exactly.
Not here.
There's nothing to be ashamed of being around somebody who's having tics. It's not like I'm intentionally calling him a slut. I mean,
what? What? Hey, Peter Penguin fan site. Oh God.
So
hey, TDS. This is a bit off topic, but like I need to ask. This is kind of something I want to ask you. This has nothing to do with the Gingers, but like, so how does it feel as a married man to get called an incel. Like, I find that like to be the most hilarious thing.
It means nothing. It means nothing. They've actually, I noticed this recently, which I thought was funny, is that someone actually tried to justify it to someone by saying the definition of incel doesn't just mean people who are married. It can mean people who are like, who would never get sex or whatever. It kind of weird.
What?
I can't remember the exact thing. And the reason I can't remember it is because I really just didn't care. But
it sounds like a very brain dead kind of like twist plot, logic twist.
Yeah. So
that's their argument against all of us, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I just don't care. I just don't care. Look, you're going to call me that. And I literally, like, I'm nice. I put it in my bio for you. You know, like, you can read it. You clearly have time to put your pronouns and other stuff in your bio. So it's not like you don't have a way of reading what's going on in there. But for a long time, most of the time, people will just not read my bio and be like, you're an incel. And I'll be like, but I'm married. And they'll go, that doesn't mean you're not an incel. And
but
like,
that is not,
okay.
I just got to say, that is not the most hilarious thing in the interactions. So obviously we established you're a Jewish man. The amount of times you get called a German socialist is hilarious.
Yeah. Look, at this point, honestly, like, you got people ask, why do you go offline on Twitter at the end of the week? Well, aside from it being the Sabbath, the other reason is because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to be on Twitter as much as I am. And people think that I'm on it a lot more than I actually am. Because I usually just come on, make a couple posts, and disappear. But
I'm on it a lot more than you. I love trashing the trolls. I mean,
it helps to remember that, I work as a therapist. So when I come on online, I go on Twitter and I see these people calling me names, doing these crazy things, making these weird videos. I kind of go, you know what? I'm glad to have the clients that I have if I don't have to deal with Twitter. That's good. Twitter's a choice. I made a choice to go on Twitter and to interact with people. Therapy, stuff like that's my career, and obviously I like it. But I'll take the crazy that I get in therapy versus the crazy that's on Twitter, because at least they're more manageable for the most part. But these people, it's all they know. As I said, these people. One of the things that I like to bring up.
Sorry.
I got that.
I'm sorry, Parrot Head.
Wow, Parrot Head, go fuck yourself, you parrot bitch.
Oh my god, the stream is
sorry.
So
TDS,
sorry.
I was actually gonna comment real quick on his thing. Let me try to rein myself back in from being ticky a sec. Because you're commenting on this, and it's like, I swear that's their argument to anybody who doesn't agree with all their shit, is to instantly try to throw around incel, femcel. What I love is when they call me the femcel term. I point out I'm married. My husband comes on the threads and points out that no, she gets it anytime she wants. And the first thing people do is, she's not gonna fuck you. And I'm sitting there going, you're stupid.
She is.
Like, you're stupid.
So TDS. This is a question regarding your therapy career. How long have you been a therapist?
Over 5 years.
Okay. So what are some, like, obviously not going into specifics of people, but just speaking in generalities, what are like some common diagnoses? Like, is there kind of like an epidemic of like certain
OCD
things? OCD?
Yep.
And how did, like, in what way?
In a sense where a lot of people, especially these days, you see them on Twitter. I believe it's on, you see it on Twitter. And again, I'm not going to diagnose anybody specifically because I can't. Yeah. And, it's not my kind of thing to do. But I see a lot of these people, they get very obsessed over things, right? You see them, they get obsessed over a show, a movie, or whatever it might be. And then it becomes a thing where if anybody has an opinion that's different from theirs, it's not just okay, we have a different opinion and we can agree to disagree, right? Instead, it's, oh my God, you don't have the opinion that I have. I must come up with every reason under the sun for why you're bad and I'm good. And you kind of go, well, why not just block me? Why not just, go away? And I believe that part of the reason is because it's a compulsive behavior. They're obsessed with this
Yes.
with these properties so much that they become like part of themselves. And when you
Or
criticize it,
themselves, their personality.
when you criticize it, it's not actually that they have to fight you. It's that when you criticize it, to them, it starts to make them doubt their own convictions. They go,
They feel like
am
you're
I
attacking
sure
them.
that I'm right?
What's
So what
really
they have to do is respond
I'll-
compulsively to like basically to not just to attack you, but to reassure themselves. That's why they don't leave you alone.
Well,
See, this is
That
what's
was-
really interesting is I've seen a lot of this behavior from religious communities for like decades because there are so many people who made religion their personality. And when you attack religion, you're attacking them and they respond in a similar manner. That's why you have so many people who talk about like science being a religion, geekdom being a religion, and I'm not fully on board with that comment, but the parallels are definitely there.
I would say actually that the science community has always had a severe overlap of people who treat it as a religion and try to dictate what can actually be
Trust the science!
investigated
Trust the science!
scientifically. That goes back a long time. Look at the science academies of old. Look at everything. There's always been a weird religious cult side to the science community. But that I was going to go back to the comments on OCD. First of all, I think part of that also has to do with a lot of people don't address it. Both OCD and special interests in autism get you so obsessed that it becomes where you feel sometimes like when somebody says something negative about something that you're deeply specially obsessed with, actually feels like they're taking cheap shots directly at you. It feels like they're attacking who you are as a person. And that's, I think, why it's so hard for them to let go. It's also, I think, because a lot of people don't understand that this is part of what OCD is. And part of that goes to social perception and stuff too, because look, the only viewpoints people show of OCD in the media are monk-like viewpoints where they're shown as you're obsessively clean and you're a perfectionist and you're really intelligent and stuff. But that's like the savant thing with autism. It's very rare. Most of us just are really, really screwed up and really have a lot of issues. And being OCD when cleaning can actually make it harder to keep things clean because you focus so much on every little thing that it's hard to get things done.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when it comes to the media and mental illness, they still have a hard time. Like, I'm autistic myself. Higher formerly Asperger's. I'm
no shot.
I have a question. Hey guys, question. You guys call a ginger fan? Oh God, no. TDS. Why did they loop all of autism into a spectrum? Because like growing up, I had Asperger's syndrome. But then at some point, it's like, oh, I'm high functioning ASD or whatever. Do you know why they did that?
I think it's to make it easier because if you have specific titles for things like and they all kind of fall under the same umbrella, like terminology, it is something that can make it a little bit, difficult to kind of diagnose because you could say, oh, well, are you autistic or are you Asperger's? And people go, oh, what's the difference? So I think it became a thing. Like there's also, for example, a good example of this is body dysmorphic disorder, right? You think of that and you think, oh, that must be a, eating disorder. Well, it's actually no longer the case. It's actually been reclassified as a part of OCD. The reason being is because body dysmorphic disorder doesn't actually involve usually binging or purging, which is what usually connotates an eating disorder. It's instead anxiety about how you look or how you think you look. And if you think about it that way,
it's complicated.
It falls under OCD with that umbrella because again, it's anxiety and you have compulsive behaviors around it because of how you feel you look and the anxiety that comes from it. So it makes more sense to put it under OCD. So if you're asking me, I'm sure there's a more in-depth reason, but I think that part of the reason for the most part is to make it easier on people and to get people less confused because there were so many different titles for autism that it made it difficult to know like what exactly are you. So I think it was meant to be easier. I don't know if it succeeded.
I was going to say, can I put a negative on that one? Because while I get the connotation of we're not trying to micromanage autistic communities and break us into little subcategories, the different forms have very different ways that they manifest and different ways that we need handled when we have meltdowns, breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. And so by lumping them together, it has actually become harder for some of us to get the proper aid and treatment from carers or physicians who haven't worked with us a really long time because there's less details listed with the condition. Same way as I understand why they put PTSD and CPTSD under the umbrella terms, because there's a lot of terms they've lumped into those. But in the same way, I think it's actually limited some of the resource availability for some people.
Yeah, plus the other thing is, so like I first got diagnosed in '97. So like I was under the Asperger's umbrella for like a long time. And the thing is, a lot of people identified with the label. You know, we called ourselves Aspies. And, you know, it's like people with Asperger's. It was kind of a community forming. And then when you just kind of lumped it in with ASD, the community kind of dispersed. So it used to be I could go into a Asperger's community and like, oh, hey, I do this, do that. And we'd all kind of have like similar kind of experiences and we could talk with each other. But now that it's just ASD high functioning, it's a lot harder to get that because let's be honest, most people in the ASD community more focuses on the lower end, you know, like the caretakers of those people. People on the higher end, like myself, we don't have caretakers. We're kind of facing the world alone. And it was nice to have people that related to you who had similar issues. But now that resource is no longer there, and I feel like I'm worse for it.
To be fair to Hardcore Bunny's comment about some kids didn't have it but got sick from being forced to take pills in school, generally the people who were misdiagnosed and given pills to control them in school were not diagnosed with autism. That was a lot harder to get.
They're shoving Ritalin down every troublemaker's throat.
No, I was saying they were saying mostly back then the excuse was always ADD, which and ADHD, both of which are real. Both of which are, generally speaking, the majority have been that in our lifetime.
Well, ADHD really.
Can I finish the point?
Okay.
What I was getting at here, if I can retrace my thoughts back to where I was halfway through. So what they were doing with that is they were labeling it with attention deficits or hyperactivity, both of which are real conditions. But again, there's been multiple studies where they go to all these kids who were on the pills or put on them or stuff, where the genetic markers of it, they don't have over 90%. Again, absolutely real, absolutely valid conditions, but completely disregarded by most of society because they were so overdiagnosed and falsely diagnosed.
Yeah, there's a lot of false diagnosis. I do think ADHD and to a degree Asperger's was a bit overdiagnosed in like the late 90s through the 2000s. TDS, can you kind of speak to this? Because I feel like every so often there's kind of like a trendy diagnosis where people get stuff. Do you see that? Or
there's a case to be made for both sides. Okay. Do I think that people get overdiagnosed and people buy medicine to fix problems, or meds more times than they should? Yeah, probably. I could agree with that. Do I think that there's a case to be made for making things, trying to simplify different things in regards to like diagnoses, whatever? Yeah, I think that's too. The therapy space is actually is constantly changing and not always for the better. But I will say that there are people who still, strive to do the right thing. And there are people who unfortunately just fall into the category of kind of doing whatever is recommended. So I think it depends on who you meet. That's why I always tell people will say, oh, I went to a therapist and it didn't help me. And okay, that's cool. You don't have to. But at the same time, I think it also depends on the person you're seeing. So if you're going into a therapist and a therapist doesn't work for you, I would recommend if you really feel like that would be helpful, to go to multiple. Find one that you feel fits with you.
Yeah, like it took me years. Like I've had good therapists throughout my life, but like for 5 years I've been trying to find a good therapist. And the problem that I often had was I find a good therapist and 6 months later they got like a job somewhere else and they had to leave. And I had to start over with someone else. A lot of times it was like, oh, I'll recommend you someone. And they were like the worst therapists ever. And thankfully now I found a good therapist and he's working for me. But I just got tired of like every 6 months having to start over again. It was exhausting.
I have another comment on this too, which goes to it. You talk about the therapists don't always work and stuff like that. There's also the cases where, let's be honest, people like me who have multiple conditions that are complex, not as common, get very misdiagnosed, or the therapists actually get confused trying to figure it all out. And so for a lot of our issues will go untreated, uncared for, or it will be late in life when they finally figure out what's going on. And I don't think that's necessarily because the therapists weren't trying. When you get a person who has multiple conditions, it can be very hard to find the overlap point, which one is which one, which symptom comes from which, or is this symptom occurring because they're going through multiple types of conditions at once and stuff. And so I don't fully blame the therapist for all of it, because there's situations where they're doing their best and they really just can't figure it all out easily because the case is complicated and there's a lot to deal with and a lot to digest. And I think that's also important to remember, that situation also exists, and a failure to successfully identify things or a misdiagnosis isn't always because they're not being responsible or they're not doing their job right. It can be because it's just a complicated case. It's very hard to diagnose and understand.
Yeah. To
add to that, just for a second, yeah, I agree, and I also think it's very important to remember that at the end of the day, even if they're paid to deduce things, therapists are people. It's always been the case, and they're not going to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, like I said that in the defense, because I have had a few really horrible therapists over the years who didn't care, didn't put in effort, freaking ghosted appointments and shit. And that was when I was a child. But I've also actually had quite a few who, despite all the issues that I have, despite how many medical and mental issues I have that overlap in weird ways, that cross symptoms and cause misdiagnosis and stuff, they genuinely try. The list of things I've been diagnosed with over the years is intense, and a few of them have been removed, but several more have been added. And the thing is, actually, most of them are actually true, and the therapists who diagnosed them really were doing their best and really trying to figure out what was wrong. And so I try to defend therapists where I can. Yes, there's bad ones, but there's a lot of good that therapy community has done too. And I don't really like the bashing on therapists that a lot of the right does.
Yeah, I will say one of my struggles is I tend to do better with male therapists. I don't know, like I don't want to go stereotypical, like, female therapist, blah, blah, blah. It's just it's the fact of the matter is, I feel like male therapists tend to empathize with me better. They tend to understand a lot of my struggles, and I usually respond to therapy better with male therapists. Well, the issue is, nowadays it is getting harder and harder to find a male therapist.
I was also going to say, same reason you do that is probably why, even though 99% of my friends circle is male and all this other stuff, when it comes to doctors and therapists, I do prefer females, because you do understand deeper your own gender, your own medical, and there is an amount to that. And so I do think there's actually a benefit for a female to have a female doctor or a female to have a female therapist, and vice versa. I don't think it's a bigotry.
For the life of me, I do not understand why there are male OBGYNs.
Yeah, that to me, I just find really creepy. I understand why it was in a long time. And remember, for a long time, women really weren't encouraged to be doctors at all. So it's better than nothing. But I do not want to get up on a table, strip my bottom half off, and spread my legs for a guy when I'm married. That seems really creepy. Yeah. So I absolutely think that there's an absolute legitimate reason why people would be more comfortable with doctors or therapists of their own gender. And I don't think that's a bigotry. And I think society is actually doing a disservice by dismissing that offhand.
So TDS, why do you think the quality of therapists has gone down in like the last 10 years or so?
Again, you're getting into territory it's going to be difficult for me to talk about, but if you're asking, I think because of infiltration the most.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who infiltrate things, and it becomes a problem. Is my voice cutting out at all? I keep hearing like feedback.
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out. Is anyone? I'm on headphones. Or who else is on headphones?
I'm on headphones.
I am.
in the living room right now because I can't handle being at the computer. So.
I'm plugged into our router too.
Oh
so there
dear
shouldn't be a problem
God,
with that.
hardcore.
Yeah, I'm not posting that. So what you're talking about infiltration. Can you kind of explain what you mean by that? Not just like for therapists, but yes in general.
Activists, unfortunately, there's a lot of activist therapists these days, and because of that, they kind of influence the popular discourse.
And it's kind of obvious to tell which ones are because when they start actually saying things that are biased against certain communities, like the whole, I've seen a lot of therapists who will bash on Christian homes and stuff like that, and really actually are trying to paint anybody who's not like the leftist ideal SJW. Anything else is a bigoted home that's actually trying to hurt your mental health and stuff. It's like, no, Peaches, no. That's not true. That's just not true. We're human on both sides of the aisle and in the center. We're human. We're good and bad in every community, and it doesn't help anybody to portray those viewpoints.
So where do you see things going with like the treatment? Like, do you think we'll get better with dealing with OCD? Like, where do you see things going in TDS?
It's hard to say. It depends on what happens with the next version of the DSM. Right now we're on DSM 5. If DSM 6 comes out and there's changes made there, then that's going to be the diagnostic statistics manual moving forward. So that will kind of tell us a lot.
Is it coming out soon or
I don't know. I don't know. They have a lot of people working on it. It is definitely out there in regards to being worked on, but as far as when it's going to come out, I don't know.
I do find this stuff fascinating. I think that's why we got a little off the ginger topic, is because I will say this is something I've noticed, at least from my experience in multiple states and communities. There does seem to be a little bit elevated level of mental health issues with people I know who are ginger opposed to the rest of the people I know. I don't know why that is. I don't know what causes it. But it's just something I've observed in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I feel like it kind of ties into like the victimhood equals social currency thing, because I swear every woman you meet has some sort of like ailment or illness or whatever. And I
swear, like half of the men try to pretend like there's nothing ever wrong with them and they're king alphas. And it's like, I don't think either of these are true.
Yeah, I get the extremes.
I don't think either of these are true. Can we just admit that we're all human? We're all flawed. Most people will have some medical condition at some point in their life, but that doesn't mean you're a victim or other stuff. Let's just find the common ground and not be nutcases.
Mm-hmm. So, TDS, like, what is your kind of take on the whole like victimhood equals social currency kind of thing we've been kind of going on for like the past 5 to 8 years?
It's hard. It's hard to say, but I feel like a lot of people will adopt titles and things because they feel like it gives them personality rather than. My voice is still cutting out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting like this weird echoey kind of thing.
It's not much. It's just every so often a little tiny.
Let me leave the stream real quick, and I'll come back, and maybe it'll fix itself.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right, talk. Is it me? What's happening with me? But Rose.
Yeah.
One thing that I've kind of noticed is, all right, it seems like I'm happening with me a little bit too. Let me
How do I sound?
You sound pretty good.
Yeah, I don't hear it anymore. I don't know what caused it, but
I'm not hearing a lot of this stuff on either side here. But StreamYard gets weird sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
As long as it's still tolerable. I don't know if it's annoying people, but what I was saying was
I've been finding I have sensory issues, so
yeah.
Go ahead.
But you were talking about the victimhood stuff.
Yeah, again, I think a lot of people will adopt these titles because not just because they want to be a victim, because they don't know what to identify as, and meaning like their personality. So they'll adopt a title or a thing just to kind of feel included or feel loved or feel wanted. And while that's fine and good, I get it, but it doesn't necessarily fix the problem that made them need that in the first place. So
it does make me feel bad for them, honestly, when you can tell. Okay, yeah, a lot of people do fake conditions, but usually when they're faking conditions, I'm not going to say there aren't users who do it because they want attention just for completely selfish reasons and stuff, but generally when people are faking things for attention, it's because there's a deficit in their heart and their life. They've something they're going through where they really feel like they're alone and they need people and they need validation. And so I have a hard time hating on people doing that because I think there's something really wrong that's hurting them to make them feel like they need it.
I get that. My big thing is like the people who are like, oh, gay is my entire personality kind of stuff.
Okay, who you're screwing or who you're bleeping. I'm not gonna say that word, but you could guess some of the things I'm thinking. Those things should not be your personality. They're a fun part of your life. Don't get me wrong. Absolute great part of the life, in fact. Yeah. But if all you are is the person that you're having sexual relationships with, then you're not a person yourself. You're just a sex object.
All right, let's. I want to shift the. I want to kind of shift the topic. So, TDS. You've been a virtual Skynet detector for a while, and do you see the bot problem? What?
I guess it's an okay title.
Do you see the bot problem getting worse, or do you see it getting better?
It's gotten better in certain ways, but in others, no.
How so?
Well, if you're asking if I see the bot going away, the answer is no. Do I see? I don't know why. Does it keep glitching out?
I'm fiddling with your mic settings because it keeps like I'm trying to like echo cancellation audio, kind of thing. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix it.
Okay, I was worried it was me.
No. The reason it keeps changing is because I'm fiddling with your mic settings.
Knock that off.
Yes.
Here. That better? There. So what I was saying was that basically there are bots. They're active every day, like on everything. But in regards to certain kind of bots, like the ones that used to reply with link in bio, whatever, you haven't seen them much because there's not around.
My kitty cat in bio.
Yeah, so those bots went away, but basically the other ones have kind of stayed around, and that is something to keep in mind that I haven't seen them getting better. There have been some that gotten banned. There have been some that have been removed, even with my help. But it doesn't necessarily mean that nothing is happening here. And it also doesn't mean that... I think they're doing some things, but when it regards to the bot problem in general, no, it's not getting better.
See, the other thing that I've worried about is I feel like a lot of these companies, they employ people to create like sock puppet accounts and go there and stir up trouble, because I've gotten into arguments with people and I go check on their bio and it's like the profile was created last month or stuff like that, and they got like virtually no followers or whatever, and they're just so antagonistic. Like, have you seen stuff like that?
Like people being antagonized by bots? I mean,
no, like studios, like Disney, Universal, like they pay people to kind of,
Yes, that is a known thing. As far as if I have like any hard evidence of it right now, like no, that's because it's very hard to figure that out. I do know that there is evidence of HBO doing it, and there is evidence, I believe, of Amazon doing it as well. But other than that, like it's hard to say. That I definitely wouldn't be surprised me to find out that there was a lot of this going on. But You know, it definitely doesn't surprise me, I should say. But I don't have any hard evidence.
Rose, anything you want to add?
I don't know. I'm picky enough today, but keep adding things I shouldn't add, so I'm trying not to talk too much. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I guess this is a kind of more of a lower key Gingercast. That's fine. That can't always be pillars of excitement.
They can't always be as inappropriate as when Lenore was here with us.
Oh God, that was a firecracker.
That was fun.
But like, I see you talking about like stirring the hornet's nest, getting people ticked off at you. Like, how exactly big a response do you get from these kind of things? Like, what level of like anger or vitriol do you get thrown your way?
You're asking like in general in regards to the bots, or just in general?
In general regards to the bots.
If we're talking about it, I've been attacked by bots pretty much consistently every day. They're taking my content, uploading it to other places, and then responding with links to it in my comments. I don't know why. I think it's very strange. But
do you think the studios themselves have noticed what you've been getting up to?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they have. I just don't sure they'll ever admit it.
What kind of makes you so sure of that? I'm just kind of
well,
curious.
I've had people come forward to me and tell me that that's the case. So, I mean, I can't prove it, but it wouldn't surprise me at this point. I mean, I've made gotten a lot of attention, and I know that recently I was approached by a reporter who was sent my way by the creator of Botometer. So, I mean, you can't say that it's not doing something. It's definitely getting somewhere, you know. But I can't say definitively whether or not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Would you be surprised if Kathleen Kennedy's office has a dartboard with your face on it?
Yeah, probably, because that would be. I would be very surprised because it would look very childish, I would assume, and also.
I mean, it's Kathleen
come
Kennedy.
on, who would be surprised of her being childish? Let's get that straight first. Second of all, never be surprised with these people. I have had actual employees at Marvel and DC tell me that they're literally told not to speak to me.
Not to speak to you directly.
You
have angered the mouse. The mouse is afraid of you.
Not even a big account. I'm literally a few thousand people between all my accounts. And they have literally been told not to speak to me.
Wow.
So I don't take anything as shocking from those people, honestly. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of worried of like escalation because obviously you're not going to stop TDS.
Of course he's not.
Yeah, of course.
You're worried about the escalation that's already happening? It's been going on for months now.
I've seen horrible stuff said to you. You've seen horrible stuff said and done to me. Unfortunately, that's what these people are, and the best thing we can all do is stand our ground and be there for each other when it happens.
I mean, we've seen the kind of shots these people will take when they're angered enough, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, you've seen some of the stuff that's been said even to me. This stuff is vulgar. These people are
seen
horrible.
The kind of shots people have taken.
I'm not doing that conversation, even in
We're not doing it. I'm just alluding to it. So,
you're gonna drive me nuts, you little arse.
So, Rose, can you confirm or deny that you have cooties?
I don't have cooties. I have Tourette's. What's
the difference?
Cooties are contagious. Tourette's just makes you want to slap the person. I mean.
Oh God.
And TDS is just like, I'm not touching this conversation.
Yeah.
So, have you ever thought about like creating your own kind of content? Like, obviously you do your YouTube, but have you thought about coming out with like your own comic book or whatever?
Me?
You definitely have the platform
Comic
for
book?
it. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I know that people like to do that kind of stuff, but like I can't draw as well as I used to, and I never been a thing. I mean, I can't say that thought hasn't crossed my mind, but
Fair enough. So, I can kind of feel us winding down a little bit. So, I say let's wrap this thing up.
I'd say we need to get his wife to do a gothic comic where me and her like deal with all the haters properly.
Raven and her
style.
giant
don't give her ideas. She has a bunch of other projects that she needs to finish first before she does another one.
Oh, so she's as good at starting 5 billion projects and not finishing as I am?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, goody! More things I can tease her with when I do get to talk to her.
Don't make TDS bust up the laser pointer.
I mean,
No,
he knows me and Raven get along well. That's why I have to joke a bit.
All right. So TDS, like, what's your final thoughts on like being a ginger and then also the therapy and the bot stuff?
You just asked me my final thoughts on like 3 different things. So I have to like go one at a time. As regards to being ginger, as regards to being ginger, it's never been a huge problem for me. I've always liked it. It's always been something that's kind of I felt defined me. It will kind of define me moving forward, even when my hair is no longer ginger, because eventually it will, change colors as it is known to do.
Okay.
But for now, I can't say I have any issues with it. In regards to the therapy stuff, again, the therapy landscape is constantly changing. I would just say keep your eyes open, be vigilant, and do not just blindly follow what everybody says to do. Use your own judgment, and also at the same time, always do research. Don't over-research, but take your time and do research if you're going to do something. It's important. And the last thing in regards to the bots is that, I mean, they continue doing it. A lot of people have said, like, why are you doing it? It's not worth it at this point, whatever. I'm being attacked by bots daily now. They steal my stuff and post it in my comments for some reason. So clearly I've pissed somebody off. And if I were to stop now, that would be basically saying, you win, and I'm not going to expose you anymore. And what do they want? They want me to stop. Guess what? Ain't happening.
That's our boy. Yay! I mean, sorry.
Yes. Rose, final thoughts.
Mea culpa for being full of ticks today. And like I said, it's complicated. I love being a ginger girl. I love being a little redheaded, pale-skinned native girl. I love who I am. I'm not ashamed of any of them. But there are definitely societal behaviors that can get on your nerves at times.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to all the mental health stuff, it's really irritating when you're one of these people like me who goes through so much stupid care, so many stupid diagnoses, so many issues constantly in our day-to-day, and then you see people make light of these conditions and joke about it and switch what they have every few days and all this other shit. And it really makes you feel like your struggles are a joke to them. Mm-hmm. And that's really frustrating, actually.
Yeah, I get that. So, as for myself, thank you, Master of the TDS, for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. EO Writer, as always, you are a subject. You're very good at derailing the stream, and I wouldn't have anything better. Check out Lost Kingdom if you can. Now on Kickstarter, just gonna put that in the comments one more time. But yeah, hope everyone liked this. If you want to see a Gingercast 5, let us know and we shall do it.
Find us more gingers. I mean, bring their soulless asses to us. I mean,
yes. Anyway, this has been Nick from the Phoenix Press. And remember, I can only show you the door. You're the ones to walk through it.